is a 1963 Studebaker Avanti model R1. It's one of 4,647 cars built by Studebaker between May of '62 and December of '63. This particular car was built in May of '63. The R1 model does not have the supercharger. It's got Studebaker's own 289 cubic inch V8 that was upgraded by Andy Granatelli for the model Avanti. Now this car I purchased originally it was 1970. It was an interesting way of the way I acquired the car. I had been saving for an airplane. I always wanted an airplane, and I had $1,500 saved up for an airplane, and found in a Sunday newspaper a Luscombe for sale for $1,500. And I called later on and found out that had been sold. So I had $1,500 burning a hole in my pocket, and I had been driving by this car on my way to work over a few months and saw a for sale sign on it, and I'd always wanted an Avanti, so I stopped by and spent my $1,500 and purchased this car. I first fell in love with the Studebaker Avanti in '63 when I moved into New Hampshire and saw one at a dealership, and the price of the car was over $4,000, and which was more than a Corvette sold for back then. And so it was a dream. But in 1970, about 6 years later, I found this one, and it was owned by a couple of brothers in New Hampshire that were using it as a race car, pretty much, and it was pretty beat when I got a hold of it. I was able to drive it for about a year. I was going to school in Boston, and the car began to show the wear that these young fellas put on it. And so I had to put it in storage because it just needed too much work, and I didn't have the time for the work. So in 1984, I had built a new house in a garage and brought the car out of storage and proceeded on a frame-off restoration project. Fast forward through 1989, my wife and I made a trip to Las Vegas to go to a Studebaker show on our way to a fishing trip, and so I got to see what completed cars looked like, and I got the bug bit even harder to finish the car, because the next year in 1990, the International Studebaker meet was scheduled to be just outside of Boston, about 40 miles from where I lived. So when we got home after that trip, I proceeded to work on it as hard as I could, and actually finished the restoration in June of 1990, and the show was in July of 1990 in the Boston area. So that's I took it down there, put it in the judging for the Avantis, and as it turns out, we were watching the judges look at this car, and there was another car down the line, and they were going back and forth quite a bit and making notes. And I finally got up the courage to ask one of the judges, well, why are you spending time here and down there? And turns out, well, we've got two cars that are very close, and we need to, we need to really look at them close. So after the show, I was given a second place award for the car at the international meet, and so I asked the judge, what's the difference between my car and the one that won first place? He said, well, let me tell you. Your throttle return spring is the wrong shade of blue. Your battery doesn't have the little red dots on the top filler caps that the original Studebakers had. Your one horn is pointed in the wrong direction. You've got a door handle that's one tooth off, and that's pretty much the difference between the two cars, first place and second place. Well, what I learned from that experience was I'm never going to take it to another meet to have it shown. They're just too picky. I did finish it in 1990, and then I sold it in 1990 to an attorney from Saratoga Springs, New York, who wanted a car collection, and off it went. Now I had about $25,000 burning a hole in my pocket, so I found a mall out in Bullhead City, Arizona. I was living in Milford, New Hampshire at that point, and so as a student pilot, I went out to Bullhead City with my instructor and bought them all and flew it home from Arizona as my long dual cross country, which was an experience that I'll never forget. In 2015, we had an 85 Camaro that was in good shape, but nothing special. And my wife said, you know, I want another Avanti. So she gets on eBay and starts bidding on a one in California. I said, well, I wonder where our old one is. And I, through the registry of Studebaker Avantis, I found it in Alabama. He didn't want to sell it. And so the bidding went on with the one that my wife was bidding on. And she was the highest bidder. And the clock is counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, down to 2 seconds. And somebody outbid us by $200. So she lost that one. And it was about a $25,000 sale price. She missed it by $200. So when I talked to the owner of this car over in Alabama, I told him how much our losing bid was, and he said, you know, I might be willing to sell this car for that kind of money, but let me think about it. And so another week went by or so, and this was in late November of 2015. He calls me back, he says, it's your car if you want it. December 24th, 2015, the car was back in my yard. My car was back. Same car. It had a fresh paint job put on it since I sold it. It had air conditioning and mag wheels put on it. And the radio was upgraded to a modern radio. I still have all the original parts that were taken off in it. And since 2015, I've done very little to it except maintain it. We drive it to the various cruises and car shows. It's usually a show winner. I collected a couple of dozen trophies with the car since I've had it back. The designer, Raymond Loewy, was heavily influenced by aircraft features. And now this is fully instrumented. All of the instruments are backlit in red. Above the mirror, there are controls there, much like an aircraft would have. On the console, there are levers that mimic throttle and propeller controls in an aircraft. I'm going to show you a feature that the ladies absolutely love, and this is a vanity for a lady, for their gloves and a little makeup mirror.
Nice. Studebaker was way ahead of their time.
Absolutely. And the cup holders.
Cup holders in 1963.
Yep. In the overhead, you'll see a padded roll bar just behind your head.
Look at that.
And in the back shelf, there's actually a lid you can open and get access to the trunk. When they were building the car, designing the car, they took the seats out of an Alfa Romeo and just recontoured them and positioned them for the Studebaker. So this is not an original design. It's a fiberglass panned seat assembly, originally from Alfa. The engine, as you'll see, has a lot of bright work on it. Because it's a fiberglass body, the whole ignition system is shielded with stainless steel, much like Corvette. This has an aftermarket vintage air conditioning system. The early Studebakers had a very unusual battery. It's long and narrow. It's a 12-volt battery. Many people think it's obsolete, but you can still buy them from Napa, actually. It has power disc brakes. Windshield washer, which was standard equipment as well.
I was noticing those mirrors. They're interesting. Those are factory?
Yep, this is all Studebaker parts. This car is pretty much unmolested except for the air conditioner and the wheels. I have the original factory rims and factory hubcaps. These are a Halibrand mag wheel. While Studebaker did have a manufacturing facility in Hamilton, Ontario, which was probably there in the late 40s, they went into production there with some of their cars and trucks. All Studebaker Avantis were built in South Bend, Indiana at their factory. They built a total of 4,647 Avantis. They started in June of '62 and they ceased all production in December of '63. There were 1,389 Avantis built in 1962. And they were sold as in model 1963. The feature of the 63 Avanti is the round headlight versus the square headlight. And there were 3,258 Avantis built from January of '63 to December of '63. Of the production of 4,647 cars, 2,418 were considered 63 models. There were 30 considered as transitional 63, 64. They had a combination of round headlights, square headlights, and some other features. There were 54 built as 1964 models with the square headlights. There were 764 built with square headlights in August of 63, by the way. That was considered the beginning of the 64 model year. The car is built on a Studebaker Lark convertible frame. The engines were tweaked by Andy Granatelli. He worked with the Studebaker Corporation. He took their standard 289 cubic inch engine and the R1 model. He put a race, 3/4 race cam, solid lifter cam, Mallory dual point distributor. Or I shouldn't say Mallory, it's a Prestolite dual point distributor. Put a little larger 4-barrel on it, called it the R1 model. The R2 model was with Paxton supercharger. They had 2 versions of the R2. You can tell an R2 from an R1. There's a badge right here that says supercharged. With the R1, there's no badge. This first production car with disc brakes. There were disc brakes built by Bendix under license from Dunlop out of England. They have traction bars on the rear leaf springs, which is something that a lot of people did to keep the springs from winding up on acceleration. There are seat belts in the car, first production car with seat belts. A little more fact about this particular car. The serial number is 4303. It was manufactured in May of 63. I have the original production order as well as sticker, and it was priced a little over $4,000. It has a Borg Warner T10 4-speed transmission, a Dana 44 373 twin traction rear axle, 11-inch drum brakes on the rear, and a sway bar front and rear. There were dealer options. Mag wheels were a dealer installed option. You could also get superchargers installed by dealers. This has a dual exhaust system, and you could buy either a quiet system or with glass packs. Studebaker ceased production of the Avanti and all Studebaker cars in December 31st, 1963. They continued manufacturing cars in Hamilton, Ontario through 66. Since the Studebaker engines were no longer available, they purchased General Motors 6-cylinders and small block V8s. There was a Studebaker dealership in South Bend called Newman and Altman. They bought from Studebaker Corporation all the remaining Avanti assets that were available. So they produced cars to order, and I believe some of their initial production runs were 100 to 200 cars per year range. About the only changes that they made to the body was they stripped the badge off the nose hood of the car that's had the S on it, as well as the badge on the side near the rear window with the S badge. So when you look at the two cars, they're going to look a lot alike, except missing of the badges on the car. And they called it the Avanti 2. They continued to produce those until in the mid-70s when they ran out of frames. I believe about that same time, Steve Blake from Ohio purchased the rights to the Avanti and purchased Monte Carlos from General Motors, stripped the body off. They could still use the frame, and they re-engineered fiberglass body to mount on the Monte Carlo chassis. So they had a rolling Avanti 2 with a General Motors underpinning. When General Motors ceased production of the rear-wheel drive Monte Carlo and went to the front-wheel drive Monte Carlo, now they've got another problem, and they started to use a Firebird chassis until General Motors ceased production of the Firebird. And there were a couple of other attempts at keeping the production going, gone either bankrupt or a sale occurred to a couple of other owners. Those were produced either in Ohio. Some were done, I believe, down in Central America, one of the countries there. And then it was brought back to the U.S., and they mounted them on Mustang chassis. So you would find a few of these, and the production numbers were very low. During that time, you'll find this car with a four-door body style. You'll also find it as a convertible and as a T-roofed car. And that's about what I know about Studebaker and Avanti.
Well, thank you. And can we go take it for a drive?
We certainly can.
All right. Thanks, Jerry.
That's more fun than anything.